The common assumption is that high intelligence removes the friction from life. We expect a powerful mind to solve complex problems automatically, making every achievement feel like a foregone conclusion. Yet, clinical psychology reveals a persistent gap between that expectation and reality. For many, a high IQ is experienced as a state of chronic mental exhaustion, a feeling of being misunderstood, and a sense that they are wired differently than everyone else in the room. This brain diagram maps the neurological activity of a highly capable mind. Notice how the electrical pathways stay heavily illuminated and keep looping, even when there's no specific problem to solve. For this brain, the baseline state isn't rest, it's constant activation. When we observe this persistent activity, we see it follows a specific pattern called the cognitive cascade. It moves through 3 distinct stages: input, processing, and output. Identifying these specific cognitive patterns allows you to stop feeling overwhelmed by your own mind and start utilizing that energy effectively. Stage 1 is the input phase. An intelligent mind acts like a wide-open satellite dish, passively absorbing a significantly higher volume of environmental data than the average brain. This means constantly registering the hidden variables in any room. You notice the underlying patterns in how people behave, subtle structural flaws in a project, daily injustices, and tiny inefficiencies that everyone else happily ignores. Carrying that level of awareness demands immense biological energy. Processing a constant, unfiltered stream of environmental feedback drains your mental reserves before you've even attempted to accomplish a specific task. For most people, a crowded room is just a quiet background setting. For a highly analytical brain, that exact same room is a barrage of sensory and intellectual data, all demanding immediate attention. This hyper-awareness guarantees that even the most mundane environments introduce exhausting levels of mental noise. Once that massive volume of data is absorbed, it triggers stage 2, processing. As you can see in this model, a single passing thought immediately fractures into a sprawling web of complex mental simulations. Psychologists call this analytical processing. Your brain gets caught tracing these pathways continuously, endlessly replaying past conversations. This intense capacity for simulation means you can clearly visualize the absolutely ideal, perfect outcome for any scenario. Your internal standards naturally elevate to match that flawless mental image. However, physical reality rarely aligns with perfect mental geometry. Real-world execution is inherently flawed and clumsy. The friction between the flawless simulation in your head and the distinctly average results you can achieve in reality breeds severe self-criticism. It turns a simple desire to do well into a paralyzing fear of failure. The sheer computing power required to calculate the absolute best possible outcome actually strips away your ability to simply act and get things done. That brings us to stage 3, the output. A mind heavily engaged in layered, abstract thinking generates highly specific social and emotional consequences. Because your brain processes complex abstractions, you naturally crave deep, textured conversations. The overlap with society's preference for superficial small talk is incredibly narrow. This mathematical disconnect logically pushes you to prefer fewer, highly curated relationships, which often results in profound loneliness. When advanced reasoning scales up, it turns toward the ultimate variables. While peers are entirely occupied by daily errands, the hyperactive mind wrestles with deep existential anxiety regarding purpose, meaning, and human mortality. The final output of a brain that calculates everything is often emotional isolation, a persistent distance from both the people around you and the peace of a simple life. Tracing the cascade from input to output explains exactly why a sharp mind feels so heavy. The exhaustion, the chronic anxiety, and the social isolation are entirely natural byproducts of a brain running at maximum capacity. If this cognitive loop perfectly describes your daily experience, you are not a difficult person, and you are definitely not broken. You possess a highly specialized biological wiring. Like any complex piece of hardware, it simply requires a specific, intentional set of operating instructions to run properly. Recognizing your own hypersensitivity to data and your tendency to spiral into analytical processing is the mandatory first step. Naming the mechanism allows you to manage the mental weight before it permanently burns you out. High intelligence is a powerful tool to be mastered. Subscribe to this channel to continue decoding how your mind operates and learn the exact strategies needed to turn your unique wiring into your greatest strength.